Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Walker. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Obviously, dealing with the aftermath of the last episode, Walker feeling the need that he kind of has to be there for his family because he blames himself. He's like, I brought all this Clint and everything into our world, and like now my best friend, my brother, is dead, because of that. Obviously not Liam, but Hoyt was like a brother to him, and it's like he's gone now because of me, and so he feels like it's like I brought all this kind of pain in our family in so many ways, so it's kind of up to me. He feels like I feel obligated that I have to be the one to kind of fix and repair everything. So obviously, he is taking his leave of absence, which obviously for him it's like, it just kind of feels unceremonious, and so but it's like, right, we don't want to make a big deal out of it. We just kind of want to help you through your process, as Connor was telling him. So he goes to see Mick, and Mick is like, oh, okay, you and the family, you're good. And then it's like, yeah. And it's like, we're working through some things. And then at the same time, she's like, oh, you got her taco thing. And he was like, oh, I'm going to have to reschedule. And she's like, oh, yeah, sure. Because you could tell it did, like, even that little in exchange, you could tell it did seem like it did bother her a little bit. Because it's like, no, we had these plans and everything. Oh, but because she ends up talking about it later on, and I thought it was kind of a really interesting aspect to the episode, about like how she was feeling about it. Because for her, it's like, right, like her and Walker hadn't really talked. It's like she sent flowers and everything, but Walker was kind of keeping her at a distance while he was trying to figure everything out, looking out for his family and everything. So she kind of felt like, oh, right, like my partner's kind of leaving me in the dust type of situation. She kind of felt like she was kind of being pushed away as well. And it's like, we're supposed to be partners, supposed to have each other's back. I'm there for you, you're there for me, but it just feels like we're not kind of in the same boat right now. So but let's circle back to Walker. Obviously, Jerry shows up. They didn't talk about it too much about their circumstances, because that's got to be hard in its own right. That, like, obviously Jerry talks about it a little bit, but about where her and Hoyt had left things, they never really had a chance to really make up. So that's got to weigh on her. Plus, like, a conversation that was a part of all of that was the whole her and Walker thing. So that, like, there is still something there, but neither one of them was really willing to take that step. They couldn't before, and even more so now, because they both feel like they'd be stabbing Hoyt in the back and hurting him. Because at the end of the day, it's like, do we really know what he wanted? Because it turns out he had actually bought a plot of land, and it's like, oh, like one time her and Hoyt drove by it, and it's like, yeah, she thought it'd be nice to live there, and it's like, oh, he bought this and I didn't even know it. So obviously someone else is trying to buy the land, just because the deal fell through with his death. And so she wants to kind of work on that and get the stuff, some of his stuff from there. And she wants Walker to come along too, because she, doesn't want to just do it alone. But she immediately goes, oh, you could bring the kids too, because I think for her, it's like, I don't want it just to be us. Like, if you bring the kids as well, then it won't be as awkward between us. But also, like, neither one of us would have to really talk about what we should be talking about, but neither one of us is going to talk about. Because Walker also used it as an opportunity to, like, right, get his kids away from the home, because obviously him and his dad ended up cleaning up the crime scene tape. It's like, your home is a crime scene and everything. It's also a reminder of, like, right, Hoyt died here. There's a lot tied to it, so. But, obviously, Stella's also dealing with the aftermath of the Trevor thing. We don't know necessarily what happened, whether he got arrested or whatever, but he is calling her. He's like trying to apologize about everything. He's like, I don't know where we stand in all this. Like, it's all really messed up, but I'm sorry. And I think Stella, more so than anything, is not quite sure how to feel about it, because by bringing Trevor into her life, she feels like I brought Clint into our life, and the reason Hoyt is dead, like, where Walker is blaming himself, Stella's doing the same thing. Obviously, like, Stella kind of takes after Walker a lot with that when it comes to, like, taking a lot on a lot on themselves, and they're both very stubborn and steadfast in their ways about things. But ultimately, obviously, they're like talking about memories about Hoyt and stuff like that. Even August saying, like, that was the first Santa. He's like, yeah, I had to learn that, like, Santas didn't all wear assless chaps, but for him, it's like, Hoyt was the first Santa I can ever remember. And it's like, yeah, like, he was a big part of all of their lives. He had his ups, he had his downs, he had his complications, but he was a part of the family, and they're all going to miss him, And obviously, they end up finding out that it wasn't just the land he bought. He also bought, a couple horses and a llama. And it's like, wait, what? And it's like, yeah, they kind of have to take care of it. So they're on the way, but the llama seems like it's sick. So Walker's suggesting, like, because basically the horse kind of cares for the llama. They're different species, but it's like it kind of took them in, obviously being kind of a little bit of a reflection of Hoyt, because Hoyt had this like, for him it's like, oh, he got this like horses and a llama, like this makeshift family, and he was the same way. Like the walkers took him in, and he was part, and it became part of that family. So he kind of did it again, like it kind of happened again, and that's why this was kind of so important to him, why he held on to it. But Walker ended up having to like, it's like, right, we don't know if the llama, it would have been like hard to kind of deal with. And I guess with everything that's going on, he didn't want them to have to suffer through like, right, we don't have, I guess it's like, his plan wasn't really to take on all of this. It was supposed to just be a getaway. He wasn't planning on taking more responsibilities. It's supposed to be like, we're supposed to be healing from this. So they drop off the llama, but Stella and August are upset with him because it's like, you just left the llama behind. It's like you separated it from its family. Like, how was that okay? Because to them, it was almost like, right, like Hoyt was an outsider. Would you have like, just abandoned him? It was kind of a similar vibe. And so Walker kind of becomes a little bit of a villain in August and, Stella's eyes. But Stella and Jerry kind of talk about, it's like, despite his complications, like, you forgave Uncle Hoyt, and she's like, no, yes, but not always. And she's like, because of that, she's like, I now, in retrospect, wish I had, But, obviously, Jerry kind of sees it for what it is. It's right. So the whole Trevor thing, it's like, you're only... The worst crime you committed was letting love into your heart, at most, so don't take it upon yourself about what ended up being the aftermath of all of this, because it was beyond Stella. This was bubbling for a while, it's just like I said, multiple things had to come together to lead to that moment. So when it comes to, it's kind of basically up to Stella to kind of decide what she wants to do handling this whole Trevor thing, But I think hearing from, it's like at the end of the day, it's like your family's going to need you. She's like, yeah, but why would they need me? It's my fault. But it's like, you kind of have to be there, kind of help pick up the pieces of the aftermath of all that. Like, they're all trying to heal in their own ways. And they're all dealing with it kind of in their own ways, losing Hoyt and just everything that happened. And so Walker and Jerry are talking about, once again, it's like the thing of like, Hoyt, it's like, did we ever, like, in a sense that, like, she's like, I never knew what he would really wanted. Like, because I think no one ever 100% saw Hoyt for the way he really was. And he kind of did that on purpose because he kept people's expectations of him low, because he's like, if people don't think much of me, then when I ultimately let them down, it won't hurt as much. But it's like, no, like it's like Walker was like, he didn't realize like how brightly he lit the world, in his own way, and how much he made the world a better place with him in it, his complications and all, And I think for Jerry, it's like, he told me that I was the reason why he was alive, and I said no. And for her, it's like that weighs on her. That's the last conversation she had with Hoyt. And obviously Walker's like, yeah, he's made a lot of mistakes in his life after losing Emily. So it is just that thing of like, right, there's just so many regrets on like how you handle things. But like the sad thing is there is no going back. The past is the past. All you can do is live in the present and forge your future forward. That's all you can do. Like, that's all that's left open for them. But there is this moment between them, because it's like, it's like, do we all even really know what, Hoyt wanted? We can think what we think Hoyt wanted, but it's like, he was kind of an enigma in his own right, And Walker was like, maybe he wanted us together. And then Jared kind of looks at him. He's like, I mean, all of us together like this. She was like, yeah. But before things could get even like awkward between, she's like, oh, I'm gonna hit the hay, pun intended and stuff like that. It's like, oh, right, night. And obviously Walker goes to the horse, and obviously the horse is kind of missing its llama baby. And it's like, right, I separated you from your boy. Like, I should know better than anyone not to do that. But, he's like, right, and here I am talking to a horse, but I'm going to make it right. So he goes and picks up the llama, and he's trying to get her up the steep hill. Luckily, Jerry, Augie, and Stella were able to find him. And it's like, right, here you are. You were yelling at me about it. He's like, right, that was good advice. And I wasn't yelling. I was just, telling you, like, kind of what, So, once again, just another example of just how stubborn both Stella and Walker can be. And so, for him, because the fact is, and I think that was the whole point too, is like he tried to do that on his own. You know, interesting back-to-back episodes. It's kind of about like not doing things on your own. You have people around you, you know, and for him it's like, right, like this whole experience, like them helping him and everything. Obviously the lucky jacket that Hoyt had that he had won in a game and everything. That's supposed to be August's now. Like Jerry's like, oh yeah, like Hoyt wanted you to have it. And but they ended up using that as kind of a harness to help them get the llama up. And so as he's doing that, Walker's like, I realize, like, the fact is I can rely on you guys, and I hope that you feel that you can do the same thing. Like, the fact is that he's just, I think for him, he's kind of taking it on his own of like, right, I need to make sure you guys heal, but it's like, right, you guys are going to help me heal too. Like, that's the point of a family. Like, we don't just have to, I don't have to just try handle everything on my own, because handling things on my own never gets me anywhere. Handling things on his own is kind of what got him, you know, the way he handled things after losing Emily was handling things on his own. But it's like, right, we got to be there for each other. I made that mistake before. I'm not going to make that mistake again. We're going to be there. I'm going to have your backs, and you guys are going to have my backs. I know I can count on you. Just hope that, you know, you can count on me too. So, and I love Jerry being like, yeah. Sweet conversation to be having, but how about we have that like after you're okay? But it turns out the llama isn't, you know, sick or anything. In fact, she's a she, and she's pregnant. So that was pretty dope. But on their way back with the llama and everything, they're heading back to the ranch. Jerry decides, like, right, like, there's like an ocean of things between her and Walker, and for her, like, everything with Hoyt kind of reframes a lot of stuff for her, so neither one of us is really willing to say what we need to say, so she's got some stuff she needs to take care of. I'm curious to see because Walker had said that basically her name is still on the bar, so that if she ever wants to come back, she can kind of run it with them and everything. But I think for her, she needs to kind of take a step back. I think for both of them to kind of figure out what we want, and, like, you know, we're not saying what we should be saying or need to say or want to say under these circumstances, because Jerry is kind of feeling it and Walker's feeling it too, but I think neither one of them feels like, maybe, you know, it's like, right, is it appropriate for me, you know, with the kids and everything, like, you're part of the family, and like, would I do that? And Jerry's probably thinking about the Hoyt angle of it all. So I don't know, it's gonna be interesting to see where that story goes, whether that becomes a thing in the future or not. Another angle to this episode, too, is the whole, well, since I was bringing it up earlier, let's talk about Mickey's side of things. Her and Trey, because Trey can immediately tell, like, oh, something's up with, like, it's like, oh, you're supposed to be doing this whole taco thing, like, oh, I'm enjoying them, they're bomb and everything, but it's like, shouldn't you be doing this with Walker? It's like, yeah, but it's like, yeah, things were just kind of off with Walker. It's like, is it really Walker that was off, or is it you? Like, you know, and you kind of feel like, yeah, your partner's going away, even if it's just temporary, where she's like, whoa, are you psychoanalyzing me? Like, we need another psychologist in the family. He's like, whoa, in my family? Freudian slip. She's like, you know what? I'm going to burn those books. They're just so cute together. But James comes over because he needs help. A man named Lou went missing, which he's someone that Trey knows. Basically, they were in physical therapy together. He was in the military as well. Actually, same unit as him and Mickey, but he only met Lou through physical therapy, so they're trying to find him. So at first, it's kind of like, obviously, they're having money trouble. Like, everything they have is going to be potentially be taken by the bank in a couple of days. So they're having money issues, so they immediately start thinking, like, right, Lou might be doing some black op operations. He has the military training, so most likely, you know, he might be trying to get whatever money he can. And obviously they look through his safe and they find out his guns are missing. But ultimately we find out that because of his condition, like, because he has a brain injury, a CTE situation going on, no group would have taken the liability of him being a part of their mission. So he wouldn't have been able to get a part of any of that. So I was like, right, how else would he make money? Immediately I started thinking, like, could he be in some, like, illegal stuff going on, in a sense of, like, could he be trying to rob a bank or something? I was like, I hope that's not the case. It seemed like that might have been the direction they were kind of going down. At least James was kind of introducing that, which I didn't even talk about that. It's like, right, he's like, fine, like, you know, Ramirez, if you want to partner up for this, we can. And she's like, thanks. And obviously bringing Troy along because he knows Lou best of all. So he was able to figure out, like, there's a fight going on and that Lou might be signing up for that. So Luckily, they were able to find Lou, but stepping in the ring with his condition will be worse. But for Lou, it's like, my family, I just need enough time. I need the money now to kind of cover us until I'm able to kind of do what I need to kind of take care of my family. And it's like, I will do anything to protect my family. And, but, you have your boy Trey just taking over the shirt. He's like, fine, I'll fight in your case. And I love Mickey referring to it as Mr. Allergic to Shirts. But then Mickey was like, oh, like, he's not in the same weight class. But she's like, me? And he's like, you're talking all that about jujitsu. It's like, nah, I'm the jujitsu master in all of this, Trey. So she's like, I'll go. James is like, immediately like, no. It's like, no. Like, she's like, let me do this. And the moment she's saying all that, you're like, James is up, bring it up later on. But you immediately, with the way Mickey's acting, it's like, oh, that's how very Walker of you. And, but luckily, she steps in the ring and she's like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And it's like, no, I got, and even Trey be like, yeah, you got this, babe. And James like, no. And it's like, well, fine, I'm going to pretend like I'm not, I was never here. And she's like, what? Where? And it's like, you understand me, Abs? And then Trey's like, yeah, of course. So, but obviously, your girl Mickey gets in the ring, kicks some ass. We never actually seen her do like the whole, I mean, like, we've seen her take down purpose and stuff like that, but like, didn't know she was so good, like hand to hand like that. I mean, I guess it comes as no surprise, but I was like, dude, that's pretty, I didn't know you had that skill set. And obviously, like, everybody cheering on the side, like, yo, like, do this and do that. And it's like, oh yeah, go for the takedown, go for his lungs when he like breathes or something like that. And it's like, oh, this is all good advice, like, go. And Nikki ends up coming out the victor. So to the point, the guy, the promoter is like, hey, if you ever want to fight again, like, hit me up. I'm like, I'm curious, is that something she'll ever do in the future? Which James was like, I didn't hear that. He was like, no, you're not. So yeah, that partner of yours is kind of rubbing off on you. So they were luckily able to give Lou the money, and he was able to go back to his family. But I really think it's pretty dope is that for Mickey, she comes to realize, like, right, why she's kind of been a little off. It's because for her, she's in a position where, like, she's afraid of losing what she's got. And, like, Walker as her partner, it's like, considering everything they went through, like, she wants to be there for her partner, but she felt like she couldn't because he kind of pushed her away. And so she was kind of afraid, she's afraid of losing all that she has. And so that's kind of why she was kind of a little, like, passive aggressive with Walker, as she says. So I thought that was kind of interesting, a realization of, like, yeah, but it's like, but, Trey's like, he's still here, and so are you. Like, he might be taking a break, but the fact is, regardless of everything, that's still your partner. He's got your back and everything, and you've got his, and that's not going away. Like, the partnership you build up isn't just going to disappear overnight. You still got this. It's like, you got me. And she's like, I know. And it's just like I said, they're just too damn adorable. But also another side of this episode is, the rest of the Walker family dealing with it. Bonham and Evelyn, well, for her, knowing he's got cancer, obviously looking after Liam, it's like, because Liam's trying to say, like, oh, we don't need to be taken care of. And she's like, yes, like, because she's scared that, like, because for her, I guess it's like, in the moment I wasn't, like, taking care of you guys, like, so much fell apart. Walker's in the position he's in, you are too. I just, like, she doesn't like seeing her babies, like, in that position. Plus, she's also got, Bond to worry about, like, everything he's going through. It's like, you need to be taking it easy. You haven't set an appointment for anything. But for him, it's like, he just wants to keep busy so he doesn't have to think about it. It's like, because he never wanted her to know. And I think for him, it's like, seeing her look at him that way is not the way he ever wanted her to look at him like that. But, obviously, Stan comes over and he's looking after Liam. And it's like, oh yeah, I gave that emotional speech at Walker and Am's thing, but it's like at their, like, either the reception or whatever. But then, like, Liam is like, no, but mine was even more emotional. It was like 2.5 times more emotional than yours. He's like, honestly, I'm kind of getting teary-eyed thinking about it myself, But Liam was kind of thinking about stepping out of, like, the race and everything. But Stan was like, no, obviously you're going to make some decisions. Like, obviously after everything you've been through, it's going to be a tough decision you have to make. But, like, make sure it's the right decision, because he's like, I have my regrets. Now, what that necessarily entails, I don't know. But Stan is trying to keep Liam in the race, even though they're kind of opponents. Granted, we find out he has ulterior motives for it, but it's still the thing. Regardless, he's still there to support this family, in particular to support Liam. So that's pretty dope. It's like, yeah, he manipulates it so it's like, right, he splits, this way they can split the progressive vote between, Liam, and obviously it benefits him, but still, it's almost like he wants to make it kind of a fair race, but he also knows, like, this is kind of like this is Liam's thing. Like, he can take this and kind of go places with it if he kind of keeps up with it. So he's doing, benefiting himself, but he also knows what this could mean for Liam's future as well. What good Liam that could do in this position. So, but also love the whole Bonham and Abby thing of her, like, them. He's like, oh, like, let's go mushroom hunting. It's like, that's your thing, but I want to think, like, maybe we could do it together. It's like, let's start making some new memories, because obviously, like, we spent so much time this past kind of divided, but it's like, no, let's not just let the past hold us back. Let's make new memories, because I think it put a lot of stuff in perspective for a lot of people. Just like, you never know when your time is up. You never know what's going to happen, especially with Bonham being sick. So I think it's like, let's take this opportunity, So, and for her, she's appreciative of, like, doing something and, like, going out your comfort zone and doing something I want, for me. And it's like, for him, obviously, he loves and cares about her. And it's like, saying, like, our children aren't as, like, they don't need us to kind of take care of each other. Which at the end, like, Abby was kind of like, maybe he wasn't the one I was trying to save. And Bonham was like, I set the appointment and everything, and I was hoping you could go with me, So he's like, he isn't just going to, like, pretend like this, just kind of pretend away. He's like, no, I'm gonna go through radiation treatment. I'm going to make sure I'm around for everyone, for all of us. We still got life in us. We still got a life ahead of us. So I'm going to fight for that type of thing, So Walker and everybody comes back, and I love all the stories kind of converging at once. It's like, yeah, Daddy, we have the llama. He's like, no, we don't have a place for a llama, but I got a alpaca pen. It's like, wait, what? It's like, you're an idiot, boy. What kind of rancher son are you? That's an alpaca. And it's like, wait, what? So it's like they already built it because Jerry had called them ahead of time. So that's what they've been working on. And so, the young one that was born, it's like, right, naming it Hoyt and everything, which we later on find out, like, oh, it's actually a girl, which obviously it's like, well, no, because I don't know if the youngest one would, or it could just be the mom of that Mickey is talking about, but obviously her showing up, and it's like, oh, Walker's like, what's that about? She's like, I can't tell you, you're a civilian, so I can't talk about police business and stuff like that, even though it was kind of outside police business. But yeah, she's kind of like, I'm sorry about everything, but it's like, Walker's like, no matter what happens, we're good, right? She's like, well, now that we're not partners, it does present an opportunity for her to be friends, and I love Walker family. We're not friends, we're family. I'm like, oh yeah, I love it. I love their partnership. I love everything about them, and because she was about to extend her hand out for a handshake, and he hugs her. I was like, oh, that's so dope. But it's like, oh, she's like, oh my God, the alpaca, and it's like, oh, it's like, oh, you can tell it's girl. It's like, Walker, most people can tell, and it's like, oh, that's so dope. So, and then the thing saying, basically was in memory of our boy Hoyt. And Walker's looking at it kind of smiling, So I thought this was a nice episode to kind of be kind of an epilogue to everything that went down last episode, and them all, and even Stella calling Trevor that she's like, I need to leave the past behind. She's like, I hope you're healing in some way, but my family, like, what we had was real, but my family needs me, so I hope you're able to find a way forward. So I mean, you never know what the future holds, but I think for her, this is her saying goodbye to him, because it's like, right, my family needs me more so right now, and I need them and they need me, so we need each other in this time of healing. So, like I said, just a lot of everyone coming together and healing like that, I think is pretty dope. So, like I said, I think a very sweet and beautiful, like, epilogue to the previous episode. So, I'm really interested to ultimately see where all of this takes us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.